very pleasant evening to you out there. Many thanks for joining us on another edition of the program National Talk on Equa Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada and we're live on Facebook and YouTube at Equa Television International. Tonight on National Talk, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has declared ex-Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello wanted for an alleged financial crime to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. The Anti-Corruption Agency called on those with vital information about the former governor's whereabouts to reach the commission or the police. The declaration is the latest in the tussle between Bello and the Anti-Crime Agency. The former governor was absent earlier in the day at the Federal High Court in Abuja for a suit instituted against him by the EFCC. This forced Justice Emeka Nwite to adjourn the suit and for substituted service and possible arraignment of Bello for alleged money laundering. Before then, the EFCC operatives stormed the former governor's Kogi leader's residence in the Wuse area of Abuja, attempting to arrest Bello for arraignment. Despite the siege, which lasted hours, the agency could not arrest the ex-governor, whom it claimed was weeks away by his successor, Usman Ododo. The EFCC roundly condemned the move, describing it as an attempt to frustrate the agency's operation. In the face of the heated battle, Bello's media office accused the Anti-Corruption Agency of a witch hunt against its principal. Looking at the curious and endless scenarios of duplicated charges, cross charges, counter and frivolous charges by the EFCC against the former governor Yahaya Bello, it has become crystal clear that the whole onslaught is nothing but a desperate political witch hunt of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, he stated. The former governor and the EFCC's tussle has also seen the issuance of conflicting order by the court. Justice I.A. Jamil of the Kogi State High Court in Lokoja had on Wednesday restrained the EFCC from arresting, detaining, or prosecuting the former governor. Undeterred, the EFCC got permission from the Federal High Court in Abuja to arrest Bello ahead of his arraignment on Thursday. Bello's trial come about 3 months after he handed over to his party man Ododo, ending an 8-year tenure that began on January 27, 2016. On National Talk tonight, I'm being joined by Barrister Reze Jugo, who is a legal practitioner, to discuss the alleged 80.2 billion naira money laundering. Good evening and welcome to National Talk.
Good evening to you, Joyce. It's a pleasure being here.
It's an awesome privilege, if you ask me. Despite your busy schedule, you created time to speak with us tonight. Thank you for joining.
It's my pleasure every time.
All right, let's talk about the trending issue that's generated a lot of reaction across the nation, and this is the alleged 80.2 billion naira money laundering by the ex-Kogi governor. That's according to the EFCC. Now, the former governor and the EFCC have been on a running battle, and as of today, the EFCC have declared the ex-governor wanted, and he's currently on the watch list of NIA, DSS, police, EFCC, and even the immigration. And this is over the alleged diversion of 80 billion naira from a struggling state to a private account. And it raised a lot of question, a lot of concern. And people just expect that if this allegation is made against you, you should just submit yourself and answer all the questions, knowing fully well that this agency are saddled with the responsibility, like they have the right to actually call, question, even arrest an individual. But what we saw playing out was more like a Nollywood scene, and that has also generated reaction. But in all of these, I just want to get your impression of what is actually going on. Personally, I just think, like, how is the international organization looking at us in all of these cases? Look at how these people, like the Anti-Corruption Agency, storm the streets, the house of the ex-governor. Look at how the aides and as well as his supporters are saying no, like trying to counter or stop any form of arrest. So it just raised a lot of questions. But what is your impression of what is actually going on?
Thank you very much. It's this actually brings to mind, the question around whether or not, I remember when I was in uni, I was in a debate that called to question whether or not severity of, how severe a punishment is, whether it is a deterrent or not. What we find out is that studies would show that it may not be a deterrent completely. but however, it is a deterrent enough, especially when you're in society. Some of the travails that society, the Nigerian society is going through even today, and why up till now we have refused to be able to get the balance that we need between the led and those who are being, leading us, and just try to get a sense of justice in society today, is because it is believed that whatever you do, if you're a sacred cow, you get away with it without any punishment. You see, the moment you're able to get to a place whereby people understand that if you commit a crime, that you're going to do the time, then you're going to get less people committing certain crimes. You can imagine a governor who enjoyed 8 years unfettered access to the largesse of state. For you to understand how it can be, as a governor, you have even what they call hardship allowance. You have all sorts of allowances at your beck and call. You do not, even a phone call that you make while you're a governor, if you choose not for it to come out from your pocket, it would not. For 8 years, for you and your family, it is what you have at your behest. So imagine after all of that, you're now called to question, and the tendency of your freedom is about to be taken away from you. It sets you in a frenzy. And we forget that EFCC is empowered by the EFCC Act of 2004, particularly Section 6 and 7, that gives the right of EFCC to investigate and also to arrest. Do not forget that just because the 1999 Constitution as amended gives you as governor the wherewithal to be able to be shielded from investigation, it doesn't stop them from investigating things that are going on around you, even while you're in government.
Okay.
And that is why even when he was in government, his nephew and some of his close confidants had already been arraigned before the Honorable Court by the EFCC. All they needed to do was, now that his immunity has fallen off like the proverbial scales from the eyes, it was for him to be added up and for all of them to be jointly tried. This is where we got to all of this that we are in now. And do not forget, some of his associates are also at large. They are nowhere to be found. And with things like this, the law, no matter how long it takes, if it's a criminal offense, it does not go stale. There have been people who have been charged 60 years after they committed a crime and were eventually found guilty and jailed. So this is a clear-cut situation, because you can see what is going on. At every point in time, he is shouting in the direction of the presidency, bail me out, I need help. And everybody is watching. If this goes with a tap on the wrist and nobody, that 80-point-something billion naira, is, the trial goes through and then he's found guilty, or nothing happens, or he gets pardoned by the president. Because do not forget, it is within the prerogative of the president. The president, if he wishes today, he will inform the Attorney General of the Federation to declare nulli prosecute, and they would not prosecute him anymore. Or if it is prosecuted and he's found guilty and he becomes a convict, the president has the wherewithal to be able to say, listen, I pardon you. So both people in state and overseas are watching to see, are these people really, do they care about democracy? Do they care about the rule of law? Is this actually the place? Is this the country where the common man can actually be sure that people would not take his commonwealth and run away with it and do what they want to do? This is the threshold that we are in now. Now, Section 38, sub 2, A and B, makes it also very clear that when, which calls to the question of what transpired, the drama, the Nollywood drama that played out yesterday.
I was actually going to draw your attention to the response of the media aide to the ex-governor.
When they said that he was in Lokoja at the time of...
that was his counsel. But his media aide immediately released a statement, and he said that the whole thing, according to, he's speaking on behalf of his master now, he's saying in that statement that Bello described the EFCC activities against him as nothing but a desperate political witch hunt. And I just want to ask if you actually agree with that statement, because some of his supporters are saying that it was just 2 days after he visited the president, and some are saying, oh, maybe because he wanted to be minister, oh, maybe because the next meeting of APC is closed, and probably there's maybe he wants to vie for a position, all of that. So they are saying this is just nothing but political witch hunt.
Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but you see, none of that really matters in the face of the law. Let me explain myself. They could actually have all of those internal wranglings ongoing. But the question now remains, is there sufficient, do the EFCC feel that they have made a sufficient case for him to be investigated? Is it in fact that there's about 80 billion naira that has been misappropriated and they need him to come and answer for it? Make no mistake that you can have those conversations, you can put them in their different compartments. The political side of things could be very different, and you can have that real hardcore case that they have against Bello. Now, let us not forget that some of the times people have used the reasons as to what the wranglings are in the political circles to ensure that they enforce the law. You choose when you want to enforce the law. It's very possible. But the question is, when he goes to court, and recently I've been in that kind of matter before, where somebody clearly was sent money, defrauded someone, a client of mine, and eventually when we went to EFCC and reported the matter, and the matter was ongoing, they quickly ran to court and said they wanted an injunction, and they wanted this and they wanted that. At the end of the number of months that was done, what did the court say? Very clearly that on the face of it, it might look like it started off as a civil transaction. But when you cannot either lay hands on your money or lay hands on the substance that you paid money for, it starts to look like there's a criminal foul play out there. Would you say that the police or the EFCC should not call you and ask you questions about monies that were kept in your care? That would not even be reasonable down the line. It is not reasonable. So what is Mr. Yahaya trying to do? Trying to say that he cannot be investigated because of what? He does not have any immunity at this point in time. And we're saying, come forward, come and answer questions. If you do not have anything to fear, you put the answers on the table. And once you put the answers on the table, if we see that the monies are, or some mistake, the money is actually sitting there on this account or that account, then it's fine. You go scot-free. But what are you afraid of? That is the question.
All right, let me draw your attention to the action of the current governor of Kogi State, talking about Usman Ododo. And the EFCC actually alleged that while all this drama was going on, while the aides, the police that are there to protect the ex-governor, the supporters came to stop the arrest of, or the arraignment of the ex-governor, talking about Bello Yahaya. The ex-governor, after some hours, showed up, and then after like about 4 hours, weeks away with the former governor Yahaya Bello. And I know that in going by the Constitution, Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution, there's immunity for the governor, for the president. And but my concern is this: does this immunity, or can this immunity be transferred? Because the EFCC is alleging that he came in and he whisked away with the governor, with the ex-governor, meaning he outrightly obstructed the operation of the law enforcement agencies that are meant to fight corruption.
Yes.
So if you check Section 38, subsection 2 of the
EFCC Act.
Yes, it says that it is an offense when you stop officers from carrying out their duty. Now, for someone, like, what do you make of the action by the current governor? And then, knowing well that he has immunity as the governor, can anything be done about that?
You see, the thing is this, and it comes to bear, if you see what happens in international law, where people are trying to seek asylum or trying to and there's that whole idea, if you are able, your biggest task is to get in to a particular embassy, and once you get in there, nobody can come through. Look at it inversely. In this situation, the immunity that Ododo has may not allow for them, the EFCC, to be able to enter his vehicle, for instance, under the circumstance, or tell him to get down and search his vehicle, or do anything like that, or breach anything around his person. So if he entered that compound and then they found a way of getting Yaya Bello into that vehicle, the question is, can they stop the vehicle and search and all of that? The answer here may be no. So if that is the window that they took advantage of, then so be it. It was under that circumstances. But strictly saying whether or not it is transferable, it is not transferable. No. It makes reference to a particular person. If you're governor, deputy governor, or you're president, vice president, those immunities can then, can come your way, or can be settled in that regard. Now, another angle to look at this whole thing is that in trying to build up our jurisprudence and try to build, the sacredness or the response or the responsibility towards the law, that particular section also makes it very clear that if you're found guilty of that offense, you can be jailed for not less than 5 years, as it is. And like I mentioned before at the beginning, maybe EFCC also needs to wait for Mr. Ododo, no matter how long it takes, so that they can try him for obstructing, because as it is now, because he's enjoying all this immunity from criminal prosecution, they cannot proceed against him, at least not directly. I would, however, expect that, if you say that ignorance of the law is not an excuse, then maybe the people around Yaya Bello that stopped or obstructed the EFCC from also gaining access into the house, probably they need to be tried immediately, because they are not covered by Section 308.
True.
They do not have any immunity.
And I think that's what a lot of Nigerians are actually calling for, because most of the people around there, they are both, they are SSS, they are also policemen.
Yes.
That are actually guarding him. And they came collided with the supporters, and they tried to stop the EFCC.
Exactly. So deal with them.
So I think that's what a lot of people are calling out for. But again, I want to ask this question as regard the legal implication of having different court orders, because the Kogi State High Court is saying, has issued an order restraining the EFCC from arresting ex-governor Yaya Bello. And then the EFCC, undeterred, went ahead to the Federal High Court in Abuja and got another order, warrant, to actually go and arrest him. And this, again, brings to mind the question of, is our law different? Because I remember during and after the election, there were a lot of cases around different interpretation of the law, like even here in Plateau State, where the appeal court upheld the ruling of the Supreme Court, upheld the governorship of the current governor, talking about Barrister Caleb Mutfwang, upheld his election, but that of the State House of Assembly members, he didn't. So people ask a lot of questions about laws and if it is being interpreted differently. We're in the same country, but why do we have different interpretation of the law? While the Kogi State High Court is saying this, the High Court in Abuja is giving order. And drawing from what some of the party supporters were saying, that they don't even think these people are actually EFCC officials, because they should have understood the law. There is already a court injunction that is saying you should not arrest this man. So why are these people? So they don't even think these people are actually officials. But we heard from the spokesperson of the EFCC saying, we have a warrant. We already have the go-ahead to arrest him. So what do you make of these conflicting court orders, and are there implications to it?
Well, it's this milieu that we are in now didn't just start off, and unfortunately, you know, people engage in judicial gangsterism from time to time just to get away with, you know, being questioned as such. You have a court of coordinate, you know, concurrent jurisdiction, you know, that is at par given, you know, conflicting judgments or orders down the line. And the question is, which do you choose? Do you pick and choose the one that is most favorable to you, or do you, you know? And then the question is also comes as to, you know, what were the materials that were put before, you know, each of the courts to be able to warrant some of the rulings that you get at that point in time. Of course, it has legal implications. For one, it does not let us even look at, you know, what it portends for us as a nation. It doesn't make us look as if we're serious. It makes it look as if instead of being a, you know, where people can actually go for succor to find relief, you know, from the society and all that it can do, it puts us in a bad place, because if there is indeed an 80 billion naira that is lost or flying in the wind somewhere, and it needs, don't forget, this is taxpayers' money.
Sure.
It should be going into healthcare, it should be going to education, it should be going into so many other things, but it is not getting there. Which means that if you do not get to the bottom of this quickly, there's no how that you'll be able to get these monies to be able to be available to the citizenry in that country, which means that people are going to die in hospitals because they can't get adequate health care. That means that people are going to be out of school because people weren't able to get part of that money to be able to go to school with, which means that you probably get more people trying to join people in Sambisa, and which has implications for even the security. Can you see the picture I'm painting? There's an infinite regress of cause behind cause because of one person deciding to either sit or make 80 billion disappear, or not being able or willing to make themselves available for questioning as to where is our money. So the implications are myriad, and you can go on and on about that. And judges at the sitting at the very high courts have made very clear, you know, distinctions. There are several judgments that has been able to come up and say that, you know, lawyers should not agree to go. They call it forum shopping. Forum shopping because you want to look for the right kind of forum that will be able to entertain, you know, the motions that you bring before that particular court. But what stands as truth and as constant as the Northern Star, that if we intend, or we really do want to see a change in our jurisprudence, or see that when people say that we are running a democracy that cares for its people and would always uphold the rule of law, then we should start yesterday. As it is right now, we are where we are now. You know, he has now been declared wanted. I'm sure when he was taking that picture, he didn't know that it will eventually be slapped on a wanted EFCC wanted picture poster. But today it is what it is. It is right there.
It's really worrisome to see how that ex-governors are actually appearing on these kind of scenarios, and a lot of allegations. Like there are more. Just recently we heard of how that the former governor of Kano State is being invited, also having issue with EFCC, how that his son had to go to the EFCC to actually report. In Kaduna State, we're seeing following the discussion at the State House of Assembly, the son was already threatening the house and all of that. We've had instances where former governors are being arraigned, all because of issues revolving around money laundering. And you just ask, where is the conscience of all these leaders in a country where poverty is on the increase, like unemployment, people are suffering from one health challenge or the other. Like the basic amenities that the government should provide are actually nowhere. Earlier, before the show, we were talking about how the surprises that Nigerians are faced with, a lot of sufferings and all of that, yet people just keep diverting public funds. We're talking about the alleged 80.2 billion naira, a struggling state like Kogi State, and you begin to wonder how an individual, like you recall the case of Imo State where the EFCC had to even go through the roof to get all of these people. And I'm just wondering, having known that this is an agency that is being approved by the law to invite you, to question you, and to even arrest where the need is, why do people have to resist such arrest? And people have also questioned the procedure of the EFCC, saying, oh, you don't have to go to his house. Some people have the opinion, you don't have to go, you don't have to, like, what was displayed out there was more of lack of decorum, and it was a situation where if the EFCC had not just restrained itself, or any force will have escalated into violence, and a lot of people are, why people are questioning the operational procedures, others are saying, who do we blame in all of this? Are we to blame the person that is actually hiding, or should we blame the supporters, or should we blame the EFCC in all of this? So I don't know what you make of the operational procedures. Do we have to get to the point where the anti-crime agency have to go like in that number just to arrest an individual before he's being hard?
Okay, so as a legal practitioner, I have had various interfaces with the EFCC. I've been on both sides, both for people who have been called to answer questions. I've also been there on behalf of petitioners. If you're looking for one agency or one commission of government, I mean, I'm not saying that they are perfect. And I agree that every system is as perfect as the imperfect people that run them. But I dare say that to a very large extent, EFCC can be said to be largely above board. They have done their best under the circumstances. Under the kind of circumstances that we have, where everybody in the next street or in a couple of streets are potential sacred cows and all of that. So under circumstances like that, they have largely tried to distinguish themselves and prove to themselves to be very very professional. I am pretty sure, and I can almost bet my bottom kobo on this one, that he was invited formally. I mean, I do not see, and I do not see how they would have just showed up in his house. I am pretty sure.
But do you not think that he is probably holding on to the Kogi State High Court order restraining his arrest, probably why he didn't go?
Well, like I said, it is neither here nor there. I mean, they could say, do not arrest Mr. Bello. But what came up in the first place was probably, I expect that first and foremost, they invite you over. They'll send you a letter and invite you over to come. If you do not agree to come, they will approach a court in an ex parte motion, go in chamber and argue why there's a case that you know the court should sign up on and give a warrant of arrest for you, especially that you have refused to come. It will be put deposed to in that affidavit for you to, you know, to show to the court why you should, you know, be arrested before they show up. Besides, like we said, you know, when you have courts with concurrent jurisdiction and powers over the same thing, at the end of the day, let's not forget that there's an ultimate, even the injunction. No, that kind of injunction cannot be in perpetuity forever. You know, I'm also careful because I haven't seen some of the documents or I've, you know, read through them, but I'm giving you a glimpse into what the practice and procedure for those things are.
So, but are you concerned over the attitudes of leaders? Let's talk about this generally, because we're talking about corruption. That, of course, the effect at the end of the day is the mass suffering that the people are actually going through. What role, like, do the citizens have to play, especially in avoiding some of these scenarios? Because a lot of times we see people, based on going by the cover, the immunity of people in power, be it president, his vice, or governors, like you don't hear anything. But when they are out of power, we keep hearing alleged millions or laundering of billions or diversion of a lot of money that should have been channeled towards making life better for the people. But are there roles that the citizens can play in all of this? Like I was really amazed seeing the same citizens that I can say the EFCC are trying to protect their interests, saying there is no laundry, there's no diversion. Like they are stopping the process of investigation. They are stopping the ex-governor from coming out to just respond to questions, to clarify issue about the diversion of funds that should be used for public. So I'm just concerned, do the public have a role to play in all of this?
It's cronism. It's my crony that is in government. So, while he was in government, he made sure that I fed fat. And the least that I can do is to make sure that I cover him. It is in this state. It is in this state that people were given, roads to build in their locality. And they either did not do it or did shabby roads. I remember in that particular tenure, everybody who was, I'm talking Plateau State now, almost everybody that was given a job to do or to tar roads in this state, they were given to, party faithfuls from those localities. Some of them did not do it. Some of them ate the money. Some of them did very shabby jobs that didn't see the light of day. So it is those kind of people that you see them outside the house of somebody who's about to get arrested. Because they know that do not forget that this corruption is pervasive. The ones that we see are the big time ones. What about those ones that didn't do the jobs that they were supposed to do? It's a form of corruption. And birds of a feather, they are flocking together, obviously.
True.
What is the least that one crony can do for another is to try and make sure that they obstruct the government from carrying out its lawful activities. And who is to blame anybody or to blame government today when the Leonard Silk, the AG of the Federation, is saying the kind of things he's saying about people obstructing justice or people that are afraid today that they might leave the country? You know that the immigration is on high alert as we speak.
True.
Because anybody who knows the style of government, it's from the time the Kogi State governor got into power till his last days, it was fireworks. Anybody who followed up on that, it was fireworks. And who's there to say that it is going to be beyond a former governor like that to build the country? And it is the very people who are close by that are not going to blow the whistle. There are people who know about this 80 billion naira today that are taking percentages of that money. And why, even if they go on a hunt for that 80 billion, if indeed it is more than an allegation, if for instance it is proved, you're going to see that money was channeled into different accounts. Assuming if they are going to even grant convictions for this, you're going to see that they didn't sit down and eat that money alone. They will have people, they will have caucuses. The money has to flow. That is the way you purchase your loyalties. That's the way you purchase. And people will rather make sure that them and their most immediate families eat out of those kind of spoils than for the community to get their due by people channeling what should go to the community by and large, that building of hospitals or all those other amenities that will touch everybody's life.
It's just really sad. Like we already have a trajectory of a lot of people that were in power, how they actually diverted a lot of public funds for like the personal or selfish reasons, and people, rather than blowing the whistle, they would rather just want to get their share and then just shut up at the detriment of so many people that can barely feed. And just going by this trajectory, like I said earlier on, there are already some governors, ex-governors, that are already on the list of the EFCC. And even beyond governors, like you rightly mentioned, there are people that have been given contracts and they did nothing about them. And we hope that this fishing out will actually get to them so that it can deter others from actually touring the same path. A lot of people have raised concern, probably because at the end of the day, nothing is being done. That is why people in power that have the immunity continue in that trajectory. Like, this is not the first time. We've been having issues of former governors like diverting funds, and then you see another incoming governor or governor that just came in also touring the same path. More like, if the president is my party member, then I'm going to be shielded. And that is some of the concern that people are raising. At the end of the day, will the president just allow the law take its course, or later on we'll hear that there's another and then this person is just allowed to go scot-free? So we just hope that at the end of the day, the needful is actually going to be done so that it can deter others from doing the same thing. Earlier on, we were talking about the precedent that this might cause, especially as resisting arrest, because it's like, if I know I've committed a crime, I can just go to the court and get an injunction, and then just restraining the EFCC from arresting me, and I can just get away with it. And or if I can just get somebody that is in power, a governor, to come and whisk me away, then I'm actually safe. And that is why people are actually raising concern that the law take its full course. All the people, especially the officers, police, DSS, that know the law and are trying to go against it by stopping these officers from carrying out their duties, should also be made to face the law. But as we see this kind of events in the news, what can the citizens do to prevent future occurrence? Like, what deliberate responsibility can the citizens take in their own part? Because what I see happen there, especially as regard party faithfuls or supporters or aides, like, it's not something that is encouraging. So what role can the citizens play to ensure that we don't have a repetition of all of this, and how can they hold their leaders accountable so that we don't have money being diverted, like monies that should be used to aid or to make life better being diverted?
To hold them accountable is to hold them accountable. Holding them accountable, there are different levels to holding them accountable. One, you need to speak out from time to time. You need to interrogate the budget. I know in recent times a couple of NGOs like Scale have tried, like Budget have tried to encourage people to follow the money. CSOs can never rest if there's going to be accountability down the line, because the wherewithal that they have to be able to interrogate certain things or be able to use the Freedom of Information Act to do their bidding is also very important. As journalists, there's a big role to play there. From time to time, find out, put the budget in front of you, do set up a mini task force of some sort in media houses, in NGOs, look at the budget, what was outlined, how many nairas were outlined for this and that. Down the line, has the money been released? If it has been released, what has been done about it? People need to ask questions. You see, the moment you're asking questions, even if you're not accusing anybody, if you come in and you say, why is this where it's not supposed to be? When somebody knows that the tendency that you're going to be asking questions is there, they want to sit properly. They want to do right. Even if it's for face value, even if it is not in their hearts, but they believe that questions are going to be asked of them, there will be greater propensity towards doing what is right. You need to make sure that you have investigative articles being written around this thing. We need to be able to entertain whistleblowers. The whistleblower shouldn't only be about people whistleblowing for those who. It should be about, what is happening, what is about to happen, and then let people continue to speak about that. And then when you have, when there's a need to go on processions, Sometimes you don't even need the whole world. We have seen some of the most effective um, protests being done by a few people. You have 6, 7 people in front of government house, or you have 6, 7 people in front of some establishment where you think that people are not doing what they need to. All you need to do is to make sure that you have people replace them every 2 hours or thereabouts. So you can in 1 month you can have a couple of people that are saying to themselves that we are dedicating 2 hours of our day for the next 1 month. We're going to come there, we're going to hold those placards. And you can find that even just under the scenario I just spoke about, you can find 40 people committing, 50 people committing for a month to given 1 hour, 30 minutes of their time, and the point will be made.
That's a very powerful one indeed. Like having good governance or having our nation work, it's a collective responsibility. We can't fold our hands and just keep expecting things to just work out, unless we all play our part, especially in holding our leaders accountable to the offices that they actually occupy. It's not just about sycophancy and then just singing praise songs to them or trying to shield them because they come from where we come from. But we must be deliberate actually about holding them accountable. Where a lot of things are going to be unfolding, especially as regards this alleged 80.2 billion naira that was diverted in Kogi State by the former Governor Yaya Bello, according to the FCC. So we wait as the story unfolds, because this has been adjourned to April 22nd, and we wait for that. But before we go, because our time is actually fast spent, I would like to draw your attention to one of our political party. That's one of the opposition party. The PDP on Thursday held its 98th National Executive meeting in Abuja, and that's the first time it's meeting after the 2023 election. That's the leaders are actually coming together. A lot of people were saying, oh, maybe this person will not show up, maybe that person will not show up, but we have the likes of the presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, the likes of Wike were there, the governor of Rivers State was there, among other leaders. And you will recall that the choice of the presidential candidate in the 2023 general election generated a lot of issues within the party. And while some are saying, no, power should shift to the south, others are saying we're in support of the presidential candidate and former Vice President Abubakar Atiku. And because of all of that disagreements, we had the G5 that outrightly said that their support and loyalty would definitely be to if power is shifted to actually the south. And that actually affected the turnout of even the election of the PDP in the 2023 election. And after the election, a lot of hands were pointed at, oh, it is the chairman that caused this, oh, it is these people, and it led to the removal of Iyorchia Ayu. And PDP had an acting national chairman, talking about Umar Damagum. But recently there's also an issue within the party, again, some people asking for the removal of the acting chairman. But during their next meeting, we've seen that he still remains the acting chairman until August. But this is an issue of concern, this issue of internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party. This is supposed to be the major opposition party, and what we expect to see is questioning the powers that be, questioning the status quo, questioning policies, questioning decisions of the current government. But what we keep saying is internal rambling. So they have met already, and we have seen what actually surfaced from the meeting. But then what would be your advice, especially to this political party that should be critiquing especially the wrong decisions and policies of the current government, but are rather seen fighting within themselves? What do they need to do to put an end to this internal conflict and ensure unity so that they can perform their responsibility as the major opposition party, if you allow me?
Oh, well, you can't be divided against yourself and be able to project something really strong in such a way that the ruling party, gives you respect for the things that you say. Listen, every democracy needs someone who is by the side, who is trying to check out what it is that you're trying to do, who is constantly interrogating you. I don't think there's anything wrong there. If you call yourself a democracy, I mean, you should be able, it helps to get you on your toes. Those who know this know that, whether it's America where we like to borrow things from, whatever a Democrat is in government, the Republicans are always on point. If they are always having problems amongst themselves, nothing will happen, nothing will be progressive. Because the citizens are the better for it when somebody is constantly trying to make sure, interrogate what it is that you're trying to do for the citizenry, which is a great thing. The truth is, at this point, I am asking myself several questions. I know that people have said that you need to have a a unity government. Wike is of the PDP. He's a minister under the APC. Some might say, it's like you're entering the boxing ring with one hand tied behind your back. How much damage can you really do, under that circumstances? And he is a very shrewd politician. So, is he in actual fact really, doing what the PDP needs, in trying to galvanize a powerful opposition? Or is he a mole within the PDP on behalf of the APC? Those are questions. If latter is the case, then you can't expect to get anything serious. And I'm also asking myself another question. What about the inclusiveness factor? How do the people of the Middle Belt feel? Considering that slot for the national chairman of the PDP, was Mr. Ayacho Ayu that was holding it. Today is Damagong, who is not from there, from the Middle Belt. They feel very much that the slot that should have been enjoyed by the Middle Belt is being enjoyed by someone very far flung from there. And now you're having conversations about we will consider the issue around the leadership of the party in August. That is like how many months from now? So I would have thought that one of the things they would have done immediately is to try to make sure that you immediately get a substantive chairman, go through the whole process. There are a couple of very good individuals that are out there today from the Middle Belt, from Nasarawa, Plateau State, Benue State, that are all vying for this position. I would have wanted a situation whereby one of the first things that they would try to do is to try and get that up and going. Do not forget, all of that, the pointers to the amendment of the PDP constitution, which is ongoing, and which they have also extended the tenure for the committee to work at. I mean, if Mr. Ayu was still, as chairman, wouldn't that job still have been ongoing? It would have been going on concurrently.
Sure.
But we understand how politics plays out. It's largely about interests and all of that. If an interest is manipulated very well, they'll find reasons. You're going to find someone is going to say, because the Queen died just recently, we need to postpone this election. They'll find anything to be able to get that. But you see, even amongst party faithfuls, you need to be able to see that there's some fairness.
Sure.
If people feel that there's fairness, they'll give their loyalty to the party. It's not always about might is right at every point in time because you have the power. You need to. At some point in time, you need to be able to sit down and say what is fair across board. But some core politicians are going to hear what I'm going to say, and they're going to say, you don't know what power is. We can't relinquish it. No one gives power.
Like, it's just about interest.
It's about interest. No one will give you this power. But I believe to a very large extent that the common man on the street is hoping and is praying that the PDP will be able to get his act, because if they do get their act, they can be able to interrogate from time to time what the ruling party is doing at the center. And if we're able to get the ruling party to do what is right, then it is going to trickle down to the common man, and they're going to be able to get their due, by and large.
I mean, democracy should be about fairness. So even within the party, there should be fairness. And then when there is a constitution or there is a policy, let's see leaders adhering to it, so like not saying these and then doing the other way around. And I hope that drawing from the 2023 election, PDP should learn a lesson and then unite its house together for the future, because a house divided against itself, like you rightly said, cannot stand. Our time is actually fast spent. Thank you so much, Barrister Ezijuku, for creating time to speak with us. Great analysis. Thank you.
So much.
And
Thank
to
you
our
for having me.
viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us on National Talk. Remember that democracy is a theory that the common people know what they want and deserve to get it real good and hard. Until we come your way next week, you stay blessed.